One man's dream made real. 50 years later, Disneyland Park stands as an icon for the dreamer in us all. By the 1940s, Walt Disney's Hollywood career was a resounding success. Mickey Mouse was a household name, and the animated films of the Walt Disney Studios were loved the world over. Walt had an inquisitive nature, which led him to seek out new and better ways of doing things, and he and his creative team were pushing the boundaries of traditional animation with their innovative techniques. It was that same inquisitive nature that would spark the idea that would someday become Disneyland Park.
Well, it came about when my daughters were very young, and Saturday was always Daddy's Day with the two daughters. So we'd start out and try to go someplace with, different things, and I would take them to the merry-go-round, and I took them different places, and as I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, sit on a bench, eating peanuts, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together.
Once the idea of a park began to formulate in Walt's mind, he eyed the empty lot across the street from the Disney Studios in Burbank, California. On many days, Walt could be seen standing in the empty lot, visualizing what could be. When Walt presented his idea, he met resistance immediately. He was unable to get funding for the park from the now publicly owned Walt Disney Studios, and the city of Burbank rejected his plans for the empty lot. Undaunted, Walt's ideas had begun to outgrow that little lot, and now he opened his own wallet to keep his dream alive. He sold his Palm Springs vacation home, emptied his savings accounts, and took out a loan on his life insurance policy. With the money, he created WED Enterprises and began recruiting designers, engineers, and artists whom he would later dub Imagineers to help him design and build his park.
One day he said to me, Art, he said, I'd like to tell you to take a trip with me. I said, where are you going? He said, down Orange County. He said, I've had a couple of young experts on urban development in Stanford University surveying the whole bowl down here, the Los Angeles Bowl, and they think that ought to be a great place to put on a huge new kind of entertainment for the families. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about, but we got in the car. Well, we rode for about 2.5 hours down through little towns. There were no freeways, there was not heavy traffic, and there were little orange groves and chicken farms. And I thought, this guy is out of his mind, not him, but the Stanford University guy, what's the matter with him? Well, finally we stood in a kind of an open area and we looked around, and this was the place they picked. And I didn't say any more because I could see Walt was already envisioning what was going to happen there.
In the fall of 1953, Walt and Roy Disney made a deal with the fledgling television network ABC to create a weekly series called Disneyland. In return, ABC would invest in and provide loans for Walt's park. The show not only generated the much-needed seed funding for Disneyland Park, but it also provided a showcase for Walt to tell the world about his project.
Welcome. I guess you all know this little fella here. It's an old partnership. Mickey and I started out the first time many, many years ago. We've had a lot of our dreams come true. Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream. That's it, right here. Disneyland, seen from about 2,000 feet in the air and 10 months away. I want to tell you about it because later on in the show you'll find that Disneyland the place and Disneyland the TV show are all part of the same. Now, on a site of 240 acres near the city of Anaheim in Southern California, right about in here, we've begun to build Disneyland the place.
Walt had just 2 years to deliver on his promise. Work began on the attractions at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. And several months later, in July of 1954, ground was broken at the site, leaving the construction crew just 1 year to build the entire park. Landscape designers had placed red ribbons on trees they wanted to clear from the site and green ribbons on those they wanted to keep. But after the groundbreaking ceremony, the bulldozer proceeded to knock down every tree in its way. No one had realized that the operator was colorblind. But while some of the orange trees had been lost, the crew was able to pluck mature palm trees for use on the Jungle Cruise attraction from the path of the bulldozer, clearing the way for the new expansion of the 5 freeway into Orange County. Construction continued on Disneyland Park despite setbacks and unusually heavy rainfall. Crews would work around the clock as opening day grew closer.
He had everything he had in the world riding the opening. Everything.
Walt Disney truly had everything riding on the opening day of Disneyland Park. And as the day grew closer, he once again turned to his friend, Art Linkletter.
He said, well, we're going to be opening in a couple of months now. Art, I'd like to have you be the host for the opening broadcast. We're going to be on ABC, who helped to finance the building of the fair, of the show. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. I've already opened a World's Fair in San Diego, a Texas Centennial in Dallas, and the San Francisco World's Fair where we met. And this is like one of those things. He said, we better talk price. He says, my problem, Art, is, he said, I can't afford you. And you don't have an agent. And so I don't know how to negotiate with a good friend of mine. I said, you don't need to negotiate. I'll do it for scale. He said, you will? For scale? Sure. I said, of course, you could help me because I have some ideas about what I could do. I've been watching the development. I said, I own a photo development company downtown in Los Angeles. We handle films and Kodaks and cameras. I'd like to have the concession to sell all films and all Kodaks and all cameras at Disneyland for, let's say, 10 years. He says, it's a deal. He says, and now I see why you don't have an agent.
Opening day had finally arrived, and Art Linkletter was indeed there to host the broadcast.
I'm standing here on the railroad tracks with helicopters roaring overhead and cars parking by the thousands. Well, this job in the next hour and a half is going to be a delight.
On live television, Walt dedicated the park and each of its lands before nearly 90 million viewers, virtually every television household in the country at the time.
Here is a world of imagination, hopes, and dreams. In this timeless land of enchantment, the age of chivalry, magic, and make-believe are reborn, and fairy tales come true. Fantasyland is dedicated to the young and the young in heart, to those who believe that when you wish upon a star, your dreams do come true.
The live broadcast was a 90-minute spectacular using 29 cameras around the park, an amazing feat for 1955.
Walt, you've made a bum out of Barnum today, but we've got to go.
I know, but I just want to say a word of thanks to all the artists, the workers, and everybody that helped make this dream come true.
Let's go into Fantasyland and have some fun.
Let's go.
Goodbye, folks.
But the day which would come to be known as Black Sunday would hold its share of problems.
It was 104, 5, and 6 degrees in Orange County, and that's hot and humid. And the asphalt that had been freshly laid on the streets were melting a little, and when you walked in them, you were likely to leave your pumps behind in the street, and you went on barefoot. The first opening day was private, by invitation, and they sent out about 10,000 invitations. That's a lot, but they wanted to have a good crowd, but not a huge crowd. You know how many people actually showed up? Between 25 and 30,000. And how'd they get in without invitations? Over the gates, under the gates, fake things. And so there wasn't enough food, there wasn't enough water. And about a week or two before the show was open, they were down to the last nubbins of building the fair. The head of the union of plumbers came to Mr. Disney and said, look, with what's left to be done, you're going to have on opening day your choice of one of two things. You're either going to have flushing toilets or drinking fountains. Which do you want to have? Walt said we better have the toilets. And so there was very little drinking water around. The press really, as they often do, just ate us alive. But that couldn't stop the show going on, because within 2 weeks, 1 million visitors had come.
And guests would keep coming because there was no place else on earth like Disneyland Park.
It was some show, and the families came, and then people from abroad came, and it was wonderful to see it grow from there on, because it just kept getting better and better.
To date, more than 500 million guests have entered the park. Disneyland Park has not only survived 5 decades of changing fads and fashions, but it transcended those fashions and thrives because it is truly timeless.
The world is very different than it was 50 years ago, but some things are really the same. If you think about it, Walt wanted a place where he and his daughters could have fun together. In the world we live in today, having a place where you can go and have fun with your children and friends is every bit as important as it was 50 years ago.
The 50th anniversary was met with a huge celebration that spanned the Disney parks around the world. But Disneyland Park was the center of attention as it kicked off the happiest homecoming on Earth.
When we thought about the 50th anniversary, we wanted a message that would resonate with people around the world. And we know if we do one thing really well, we create memories. And so when we called it the happiest homecoming on Earth, all of a sudden people flash back to their first visit here or their 50th visit here. And then when they get here, we're able to welcome them as a guest, which you would expect at any homecoming. So it's been a great 50 years for us, and happiest homecoming has been a great message.
And there at the park, 50 years after he was there for the opening, Art Linkletter made his appearance.
This is kind of a return engagement for me. We did so well the last time. 50 years is a long time to be waiting for a call, isn't it? On the other hand, my goodness, what a wonderful time it is to be here with all of the Walt Disney excitement and magic.
The 50th anniversary celebration continues throughout the Disneyland Resort with new attractions, parades, and shows, and some very special ways of marking this extraordinary anniversary. Look around the park, and you can't miss the glimmer of gold in the sunlight.
Each attraction that is still operating today, that was here in our opening year of 1955, has been honored with a gold attraction vehicle. Some have photo locations, and some have operating vehicles, and some have both. Our paint shop here actually painted those vehicles with a special gold paint as part of their normal painting process. So as we prepared to open our 50th anniversary celebration, we made sure that those key vehicles were included in that process.
After you exit your golden vehicle, it's time to make your way to Main Street, where you can stake your spot for Walt Disney's Parade of Dreams.
In my humble opinion, Parade of Dreams is one of the most spectacular parades that we've ever done here at the Disneyland Resort. It's a multitude of Disney characters, specialty acts, everyone's favorite characters, of course, including Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Belle, it goes on and on. It's an amazing parade and quite technical too. It's the first time we've ever done bungee work on a parade route, first time we've ever done trampoline work on the parade route, and it's the first time we've ever done web work. The Pinocchio unit has a giant Geppetto, and he's standing there with 2 puppets. He's manipulating these puppets. Behind him are 3 puppets dressed as Russian dancers, and when we do the show stop, the tower rises up 30 feet, and suddenly everyone realizes these puppets are on bungees, and they start doing their bungee work and their flips and their turns. It's almost like Disney Cirque. It's something I don't think anyone has ever seen before here at Disneyland. Over 2 years, we worked with my technical advisors, my musical director, my producer, our float builders. It was a very unifying experience where we all came together with one common goal, to make the best parade that we've ever done at Disneyland. The characters are so excited about doing this on the 50th anniversary of Disneyland that they want everyone to come and enjoy and be part of the dream here.
A new addition to Tomorrowland for the 50th anniversary, Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, inspired by Disney's presentation of Pixar's Toy Story 2, lets guests pilot a Star Cruiser while zapping targets with handheld laser cannons. They can rack up points as they help Buzz defeat the evil Emperor Zurg. Then, see how their score stacks up to the other Space Rangers taking the flight. But every good Space Ranger can use a little help, and that's why guests can join the fun, live online from their home computer.
So guests at home are playing a virtual version, riding at exactly the same time as the guests in the park, and together as a team, they're trying to become the highest scoring team in the whole galaxy.
And if saving the galaxy wasn't enough, just around the corner, the newly relaunched Space Mountain beckons you to come for a ride. Originally opened on May 27, 1977, Space Mountain has remained a guest favorite. And for the 50th anniversary, it's been updated with new special effects and state-of-the-art show elements. While remaining true to the original vision, Space Mountain has been brought into the 21st century, leaving behind a lot of smiling faces in Tomorrowland. And while happy faces can be found throughout the park on any given day, the 50th anniversary has brought them to the park in a whole new way.
The Happiest Faces on Earth photo collages are really an incredible part of our 50th anniversary celebration. We reached out to guests that were here in the park, as well as guests like our annual pass holders, and asked them to submit their photos. Guests responded, and we were able to collect over 100,000 photos. So all of these photos were actually scanned and cropped and cataloged, and each photo was assigned a code, if you will, with color tones and a computer program that represented each of the color tones in them. And then when the larger images were chosen, for example, a photo of Alice outside of the teacups, we looked at our database to figure out which photos had the right tones to create that larger image. As we thought about this milestone and what it meant to so many people, we wanted to make sure that our guests, which make up such an incredible part of our experience here, were honored in a special way. And so our teams here, our creative teams, got together and thought, wouldn't it be great if all of our guests could be woven into the fabric of the parks to be honored during our 50th anniversary. For our 50th anniversary celebration, there's 50 hidden Mickey 50 logos hidden throughout Disneyland Park. And this was a fun idea to allow our guests to find little surprises specially honored for the 50th. And they're themed to each location, so they don't all look the same. One in Critter Country may look different than one in Toontown, but there's always 50. So we could do things on the Haunted Mansion like create one out of spider webs, and yet in Adventureland create one out of a more adventurous material.
And as you search the park for the hidden 50 Mickeys, it would be difficult to miss the ornate additions to Sleeping Beauty Castle.
We wanted to make sure that this icon of Disneyland Park was treated very specially. So again, our talented Imagineers went to their creative juices, and there's actually 5 bejeweled crowns on each of the castle spires, and each crown is a little bit different, representing each decade of Disneyland, and they're just gorgeous. The attention to detail, I just am blown away. They sparkle in the sunshine, and in addition to that, other jewels and bunting and decorations have been placed on the castle. In fact, before the celebration began last year, the whole castle was repainted, and the paint just added a special transformation to the castle, and it's just a beautiful, breathtaking sight.
Another sight that may take your breath away, but for a completely different reason, can be found right next door at Disney's California Adventure Park.
Block Party Bash is the biggest party to hit the streets at Disney's California Adventure. It is about a 450-foot long show that involves the Pixar characters and dancers and special effects and interactive stuff with the audience. It's just a gigantic party. It's exactly what it says. It's a block party. Well, the inspiration are the Pixar characters.
And right alongside the beloved Pixar pals is a very talented group of young performers.
The performers themselves make the show. I mean, I think we didn't even know as creators of this what level could be brought to us by these performers. You know, the kids, if you've seen the show, they rock the block. I mean, these are college-age kids that go out there and dance their hearts out for 50 minutes along the route. And you know, their energy is their gift to the show. I think the Block Party is different every time you see it, and that is the one thing we really were delighted to discover on this trip, is that every time that you go out there and relate to the audience and what you're giving to them and their response, it makes it a brand new experience every time, so people can come back. It's really an interactive experience. You know, it's a good show to stand and watch, but it's not designed to do that. It's really an invitation. We're out here on the street having fun. Come and play with us. There's a little 6-year-old girl that I watched go out on the street and dance, and then she caught a beach ball and she threw it into the cone, and then she was dancing with Woody, and at the end of the show she came up to her mom and she hugged her, and her mom said, "Did you have a good time, honey?" And she said, "I had a great time, a great time." And to see her little eyes sparkle and everything, that is the payoff for all of us.
And if you have any energy left after dancing with the Block Party, you may want to follow Mike and Sully over to their new attraction at Disney's California Adventure Park, Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue, inspired by Disney's presentation of Pixar's Monsters, Inc. When you arrive, you'll board a taxi and be whisked away through the city of Monstropolis.
We decided on the Monsters, Inc. theme because the movie was filled with so many wonderful characters and environments. In the classic Disney dark ride, traditional storytelling sense of this attraction, it's a wonderful new addition to Disney's California Adventure. We're very excited about it. And everybody loves the characters and they know the characters.
It's just adorable. Those monsters, while they try to be scary, we know they're just lovable creatures, and our Imagineers have done an incredible job with special surprises with Roz at the end.
After a run-in with Roz, head back to Disneyland Park, where you can catch what is perhaps the most spectacular show of all, simply by gazing into the night sky.
Remember Dreams Come True is probably the most important, most significant, kind of the biggest, most special part of our 50th anniversary celebration here at Disneyland. It's our nightly fireworks show that is just a tribute to the great history of 50 years of Disneyland. It really is a celebration of all the great sort of sights and sounds that you experience maybe as a kid at Disneyland or today at Disneyland. I mean, there's music from attractions that were from bygone era of Disneyland. So it's really an inspiration of just all those things that we experience when we come to Disneyland. And we wanted to see if we could capture that and just allow those people to remember those memories of 50 years. Well, it takes a team of incredible, talented people to design a fireworks show. And at Disneyland we have just an amazing cast of folks that help us, all the way from the pyrotechnicians who make that show happen every night, to pyrotechnic designers that help us search the world for the variety of product that makes up the different looks, the different colors that make up a fireworks show, to the music team that puts together the soundtrack, which is really half of the show, is what you're hearing. That's what makes us feel things. The fireworks are just bringing that to life and accentuating that. In creating a fireworks show for the 50th anniversary, we knew that we had to take on the challenge of creating the best, the biggest, and the most exciting fireworks show that we ever had to honor Disneyland's 50th anniversary. This night sky is our biggest stage here at Disneyland, and we think of it as the chance to have the most of our guests come together at one time to experience something together. And all you have to do is come to Disneyland to see this show, and the number of guests that are standing out to watch it every night to know that it's just been an incredible success for us.
A fireworks show that brings everyone together is a fitting way to end a day at Disneyland Resort. It's an opportunity to relive old memories, while at the same time creating new ones in a place that is special for so many reasons.
Here we are in 2006, and there are 5 Magic Kingdoms around the world: Paris, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Orlando, and of course here. And the most important thing about the history here, it's the only Disney park that Walt Disney himself walked in. It was the only Disney park where he put his personal stamp on. And I think that's one of the reasons this place is so special, even 50 years later.
And what would Walt Disney think to see his park that was once just a dream reach its 50th year?
He would be astounded. He would be astounded.
Perhaps, just as his dream has astounded the countless guests that have entered this most happy place over the past 50 years.
You know, one of the things that's exciting about the 50th anniversary celebration is we're only in month 10 of an 18-month celebration. So all through the rest of the summer and into the fall, we're going to be celebrating the 50th. We're just kicking into high gear.